She knocked 3 times. Firm. Unapologetic. I opened the door, expecting a package or maybe a neighbor. Instead, it was her, clipboard in hand, smile painted on like a mask, HOA badge clipped to her collar like she was the sheriff of Suburbia. She didn't ask how I was doing, didn't say good morning, she just pointed to the Halloween pumpkins my kids had helped carve and said, "These need to be removed. You're in violation. It's not the 15th yet." I blinked, stunned, staring at her while my youngest peeked from behind me, confused, clutching her tiny pumpkin bucket. That was the moment I realized we weren't living in a neighborhood. We were living in a prison with lawns and fences. Before we dive into this story, do me a quick favor, hit that like button if you've ever had to deal with HOA nonsense or any kind of neighborhood power trip. Trust me, you're not alone. Drop your own HOA horror stories in the comments, because I read every one of them. And hey, if you're into real-life stories with emotion, drama, and a little bit of well-earned revenge, hit that subscribe button. You're in the right place. When we bought our first house, I remember thinking it was the beginning of everything. A new chapter. A real home, with a backyard big enough for the kids, a place to grill in the summer, host family over the holidays, and grow old together. My wife cried when we signed the papers, tears of joy, and even though the neighborhood had an HOA, we were told it was just for keeping things neat. The realtor said it like it was nothing. "Oh, they just make sure lawns are mowed. No crazy paint colors, super easy." We were young, hopeful, maybe a little too trusting. The house was perfect, 4 bedrooms, beautiful floors, a front porch that looked like it came out of a Southern magazine, and neighbors who smiled when they walked by. But looking back, it was the kind of smile you give when you're watching, not welcoming. The first 2 weeks were peaceful. We moved in, unpacked, played music, let the kids run around barefoot in the grass. Then came the first letter, not mailed, not handed to us, taped directly to our front door with masking tape like a warning. Inside was a violation notice, complete with a photo taken of our trash bins, which, apparently, had been visible from the street for too long after pickup. The bins were behind our fence, but just barely visible through a gap in the wood slats. I laughed, honestly. Thought it was just a fluke. I moved the bins, brushed it off. But 3 days later, we got another letter, this time for overgrown grass. I had mowed it 4 days prior. Curious, I grabbed a ruler. It measured 3.25 inches. The bylaw said 3.0. That was when it clicked. This wasn't about cleanliness or order. This was about control. I started reading the HOA rulebook line by line, 34 pages, single-spaced, covering everything from flagpole placement to curtain colors. It didn't stop there. The next week, I got flagged for unauthorized lawn decor. It was a garden gnome. A cute one. My daughter had picked it out herself. I sent an email to clarify, and they responded with a scanned page from the HOA rules listing unapproved statuary. They literally had a blacklist for lawn ornaments. Then it was the seasonal wreath on our front door, too early, they said. Not approved. Then the kids' chalk art on the driveway. Yes, chalk art was deemed graffiti. And that's when I noticed the neighbors. They weren't just friendly faces anymore, they were the eyes of the HOA. One woman would walk her dog past our house, stop in front of our lawn, and stare for a minute too long. The guy across the street took jogs, twice a day but always slowed down as he passed our mailbox. We started getting paranoid. We stopped sitting on the porch. My wife made me move the patio furniture in case it didn't match their neutral tones guideline. And the worst part? My kids, once wild and carefree, started whispering when they played outside, scared that their laughter might somehow get us in trouble. It stopped being a home. It started feeling like a controlled environment, like we were living on a movie set run by a bitter director with a measuring tape. Then came my son's birthday. We'd planned a backyard party, nothing extravagant, just some pizza, balloons, and a "Happy Birthday" banner. Around 3 p.m., with the bounce house inflated and kids laughing in the yard, the HOA president herself, clipboard queen, walked right into our backyard. No knock. No call. Just strolled in like she owned the place. The banner needs to come down, she said, cold and firm. You didn't submit a temporary signage request form. I was stunned. My wife was near tears. My son, birthday crown on his head, looked up at me and said, "Did I do something wrong?" I took the banner down silently, clenched jaw, burning inside. That night, after the cake was gone and the guests had left, I made a decision. We're getting out. I sat down, opened Zillow, and typed 3 words into every search filter: no. HOA. For nearly a year, we searched. Everything we found was either too far, too small, or, worse, had the same HOA trap. And then one day, it appeared like divine intervention: pool home. Huge backyard. No HOA. All caps, first line of the listing, like a badge of honor. The house needed work, the paint was old, the cabinets outdated, but it was a blank canvas. It was freedom. We toured it the next day and made an offer that week. The move was exhausting, but the morning after our first night there, I stepped onto the porch in pajamas, holding a cup of coffee, and no one was watching. No letters. No measuring tape. Just peace. We let the kids chalk the entire driveway. I bought a dozen garden gnomes and built a whole corner for them in the yard. We put up banners for birthdays and left them up for days. And we finally felt free. But just when we thought we were done with them, a letter showed up. White envelope. Familiar font. My old HOA was trying to bill me for fines they said were still pending from the old house, for things like early seasonal decor and excessive signage. I almost laughed. I called them immediately. They insisted I owed them over $400. But here's the thing, I had sold the house. Escrow was closed. Legally, they had no claim. So I called my friend, a real estate attorney, and we drafted a formal cease and desist. Certified mail. Tracked. Within 2 weeks, they backed off. That was the last I heard from them. But I couldn't help myself. I joined the Facebook group for our old neighborhood, just to peek behind the curtain. And oh, what a mess. Lawsuits. Board resignations. New families getting harassed before they even unpacked. Someone had shared a photo of our old house sitting unsold for 6 months with the caption, "Too much trouble." And that's when it hit me, our escape wasn't just a win for us, it was a wake-up call for others. We weren't crazy. We weren't overreacting. We were just one of the first to say enough. Now, when I see listings that say no HOA in all caps, I smile. It's not just a feature. It's a warning. A revolution. And in this house, our new home, we mow the grass when we feel like it. We hang whatever wreath we want. We celebrate. Birthdays with banners big enough to see from the moon. And the gnomes? They're watching, but they don't judge.